Hi, sixth grade. Mrs. Martin here for your March book talk. Hope you're looking forward to picking up a great book before you head into spring break. Maybe you're already reading something fantastic, but if not, this is a way to find something else new to read. We are at that point of the year that I think a lot of kids and maybe adults too are finding themselves in a bit of a reading slump. Feeling stuck. Even those who really love to read and maybe read on a regular basis are just feeling a little bit like it's hard to keep on going or, maybe find that next good book. So I wanted to put together a short list of ways to beat a reading slump. I won't read this whole list to you. Obviously, you can do that yourself, but just threw a couple of ideas together about things you could do to, try to get yourself out of that, kind of a rut if you're feeling that way. The first one is simply to reread an old favorite. Maybe there is a book from elementary school that either was read out loud to you or, was a book or series that has kind of been that one that you come back to. It might even be one that you've come down to the library or messaged me about and said, gosh, I've really enjoyed that book and I would love to find another book like this one. Maybe just take time to reread that one if you haven't done so in a while. It's really fun to go back to something that you've read before, and that can be a way to kind of re-energize yourself to get back on board to reading something new. Other ways to get ideas, to get yourself out of that slump, starting a series is another way to do that because, of course, if you find one book that you like, that leads you into other books. If you find that series, it can, of course, give you that sense of urgency to read the next book coming up. Book lists are a great place to go. I don't often necessarily highlight in my book talks what books have been award winners or best-selling ones, but I can lead you to those, or you can look those up online if you're interested. Of course, they are award-winning and best-selling typically because, there's all kinds of reasons for it. Check some of those out. Maybe even read the same book with someone else. If you've never done that before, that can be a lot of fun because it gives you something to discuss. So those are just a few ideas on that list, ways to get yourself out of that reading slump if you've been there. If you get there at some point, I hope that those give you some ideas of how to get to a new book to read. I also want to remind you, before we get into our quick book talk today, that our Destiny to Discover page off of the library homepage is always available to you, and it's always changing. Every couple of weeks, we try to switch out that top banner. Right now, because of March Madness of books, we have Mad About Basketball, so it's all basketball books up here on this top line that you can scroll through and look at different fiction and nonfiction titles, graphic novels as well. Don't forget that you can search by topic, so you can look up any particular genre that you're interested in. When you click on each button, it then leads you to the books that are within that topic. And then if you go a little farther down, you see all of our collections that we have. So everything that we've done before in those top banners are listed below. So if you haven't done so lately, take a look, do a little bit of book shopping, find yourself something new and great to read. Today, the first book I'm sharing is Fly Girl by Sherry L. Smith. This is historical fiction about a girl named Ida Mae Jones, and she has dreamt about being a pilot ever since she can remember. Her daddy was a pilot, and being black didn't stop him from fulfilling his dreams. This is set in the time of the late 1930s, early 1940s, and her dad has since passed away. But being a woman and being a black woman are two things that are making this dream difficult from becoming a reality. The United States is entering the war with Germany and Japan, and as a result, the Army is creating the WASP, the Women Air Force Service Pilots. Ida sees this as her opportunity. She is going to get to fly, finally. But even the WASP won't accept her as a black woman, and it's forcing her to make a decision. They have let her know they will accept her if she can pass as white. She's light enough skinned that if she can pretend to be white, they will accept her into the program. For Ida, this is something she really can't wrap her head around. How can she pursue what she believes to be her lifelong dream of being a pilot while also completely denying who she is as a person? Read this book, Fly Girl, to learn all about this WASP group that existed, and learn the fictional story of Ida's character. Kissing Doorknobs by Terry Spencer Hesser. Our main character, since preschool, has been really afraid of something bad happening. Bad things happening to herself, happening to her mom. She worried when her mom would drop her off at preschool that something awful would happen, a fire, a car accident, something, and that she'd never see her mom again. Well, at the age of 11, Tara, for the first time, heard a phrase that probably most of you have by now, and it's that, step on a crack, break your mother's back. And Tara took those words very literally. On her walks home from school, now she cannot get herself to actually step on any cracks for fear that she actually would end up hurting her mom. And her walk that used to take maybe 10 or 15 minutes is now taking her almost an hour just to get, back to her house. Well, these quirks that Tara has had, arranging her meal on her plate in a certain way, again, not stepping on any cracks, all of these things have become more and more troublesome as they've gotten in the way of Tara's life. And she's even developed a new ritual where she kisses her fingers and touches a doorknob. She believes that if she does this, again, she can prevent bad things from happening. This is part of her disorder that is OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder. And some of you may be familiar with that disorder. It's a fairly common thing. But if you've never read anything about it and would like to know more, I found this book to be really enlightening and a really great book to find out what OCD can be like for someone, what it can be like to try to struggle with that as Tara attempts to find a way to move past some of it in order to make her life more manageable for herself. The book's Kissing Doorknobs. It's a pretty short read. I think you'll really enjoy it. Dovey Co. by Frances O'Rourke Dowell is a mystery story that begins with, I hated Parnell Caraway as much as the next person, but I didn't kill him. Dovey is an outspoken girl. It's no secret that she can't stand Parnell. In fact, pretty much everybody in her small town hates this guy. He's the son of the richest man in their town, but he is mean, he's snobby, he treats people pretty poorly. He has been dating her sister, Caroline, and that's been a source of problem for a while. But when Parnell turns up dead, you'd think just about anybody could be the person responsible because Parnell is not well liked. Unfortunately, Dovey is the only person found with his body and no one else is around. So it makes her look pretty guilty. This is the story of Dovey on trial for his murder. You're going to be wondering throughout the book, did Dovey do it or not? She claims she didn't, but boy, that evidence certainly makes it look otherwise. Read this mystery, see what you think. Silver Wing by Kenneth Oppel is the first book in a series about shade. He's a young silver-winged bat, the runt of his colony, and man, is he ready to prove himself, because he is so small. The other bats in his colony don't believe that he can make the long journey to migrate when it becomes wintertime. They're heading to some warmer weather. This migration's pretty long and dangerous, and so kind of for some decent reasons, bats, the bats in the colony are not believing that shade can make it. Well, they're headed south. Things are going well until a huge storm hits, and he is blown off course, losing the others, and is completely lost. Shade has no idea where to go. He's never made this trip before. He's away from everyone, and he stumbles upon a number of other bats who offer to help him. They're not exactly the most trustworthy group. At first, he has to decide who he's going to believe and who he isn't. They're a kind of a ragtag group of bats themselves, but this is one of those stories of adventure, suspense. It's got that journey in it, and he's going to need all the help he can find. So he's got to just determine who he can trust and who he can't if he's ever going to see his family again. Reading this story, I felt in the beginning chapters, this book, I almost forgot we were talking about a bat. And I'd be interested to know if you feel the same way. Silverwing by Kenneth Apple. Restart by Gordon Corman. Even though this guy is typically in our humor section, this one happens to be in realistic. What would happen if you fell off your roof? You hit your head, you lost your memory, and when you woke up, everybody was telling you who you were, and you had no recollection whatsoever. That's what happens to Chase. He knows he's Chase because people are telling him that's the case, but he doesn't remember who he is or really a lot of details about his life. It begins to come back to him in pieces, but he gets back to school and realizes that obviously some kids have one opinion of him and others have something completely different. Some kids treat him like a hero, others are really afraid of him, and as the book goes on, it's really going to be up to Chase to determine who he is going to be. This book, Restart by Gordon Corman, is going to cause you to question what you would do if you lost your memory and had a chance to start again. Last but not least, since we've got March Madness going on and March Madness of books, which, by the way, let me remind you, on Schoology, right now you can go back into my posts or you can go to the library homepage. There is a link all this week up through Friday, March 12th to submit a bracket with your predictions on our March Madness of books. So please do that. If you're listening to this book talk later than that, don't forget to be voting on Schoology. We're going to be doing those votes all the way through March 19th. So anyway, be on board for all of that. We're excited to be doing that with you here in the library, and it's been fun to see the votes already coming in. Wanted to do one basketball book to wrap things up. Travel Team by Mike Lupica in our sports section. This is perfect for anybody who loves those books and movies with an underdog. If you like seeing, the kind of team coming from behind and winning it all, or those that just seem like they're not going to make it and then they keep on trying, that's this kind of a story. This is not the story of the champion, starting at the start of the book. Danny Walker's 12. He is the smallest kid on the basketball court, but you can't tell him that because this is a kid who is so fierce. He has all the heart. He's got all the courage and the bravery, and he is out there. He is practicing nonstop. He is unstoppable because he believes 100% in everything he does out there playing ball. Well, he is cut from his local travel team, and it's pretty evident to a lot of the others who are cut from the team and to Danny's dad that he was cut for the wrong reasons. And in this story, Danny and a bunch of these other kids who are, again, they love the game, they love to play, they are not going to give up. Just because they were cut, that is not the end of it for them. And this is that book about, you get knocked down and you get back up and you keep getting back up every single time. Read this book. This is about that kind of character and that kind of team. I hope that one of these books sounds fantastic to you. We do have tons of basketball books up on our shelves right now, and so even if this one's checked out, we hope that we can find one for you down here in the library. Thanks so much for your attention. Let us know if we can help you with anything recommendation-wise, and happy reading.